Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and in this video we're going to continue our Next.js tutorial. Now let's move to the other window of VS Code where we can see our folders. Going to zoom in this one. But before that, I'm going to go back here in the other window in the index.ts. And let's open here the register.ts from the folder actions. And as you can see, we have the function register here, but what we are doing is we just receive the values submitted by the form from the browser and make a validation process. And we just simply return a message to the browser if something went wrong or email sent. Now the next goal is to use these values and store that into the database. Now let's get back here in our another window of VS Code. And what we're going to do next is using PNPM. Since from the beginning of the tutorial we're using PNPM. So let's do that. Let's do this. The -d flag install Prisma as a development dependency, which is the usual practice since you typically need Prisma in your production bundle, and then type in Prisma, hit enter. Alright, the next thing is we need to add Prisma / client and hit enter. Now we can use get to check what was installed after running those commands. So let's start get status. You can see here package.json and pnpm-yml is modified. So get add-p, we can see there is a Prisma client here added to the list, and the Prisma as well added from the list. Okay, so using ls-l to display what is inside the source leave utils. There is a utils.ts here. In this directory we will be adding a new file called db.ts using touch. Now back in here in other window, we just have to open the newly created file, the db.ts. Now in this file we need to import, actually since VS Code has this feature that will auto import packages, we can just type in like export cons db new Prisma client. Oh, I'm sorry, it did not do that. It is complaining here. So this is the basic lines that we can do here in db.ts. We just have to declare a constant variable db that will contain the instance of Prisma client object. Since this is complaining, we need to import it. Prisma client from Prisma client. Okay, I have some problem here when I was trying to import Prisma client. As you can see, there is a red underline in the Prisma client and saying module at Prisma has no exported member Prisma client. But we verified earlier that we have successfully installed Prisma client and Prisma using PNPM. Now I am currently here in the Prisma documentation, and down below most of the guide here it's using npm install. I'm not sure if that contribute the issue. And here you can see we are just doing the same thing, Prisma client from add Prisma client db. In the documentation it's using Prisma, but that is just a variable. So I leave that for now. Maybe it is just an editor trying to locate the export of this Prisma client and was not able to locate. Another problem here is that this one. In NextJS, every time we make changes and save that changes in a file, NextJS will auto-load your application. The problem is that the application will always initialize this DB with this new Prisma client, and that could lead to many problems like saying there are too many active Prisma clients. So to mitigate that, we need to declare a global, just like that, an global object with a property Prisma in the type Prisma client from this import or undefined. And let's move that above. And here we will just instantiate this DB with new instance of Prisma client if this Prisma here was not instantiated for the first time. So using global des, we can access this Prisma global des and call the property that Prisma, or if it's not yet instantiated, then we will instantiate it. Another thing is actually this Prisma client in this line, global this.prisma, was not actually yet. So looking at this line here, global this.prisma will not always be initialized. So still, every time NextJS auto-load the application or reload the application, it will still run this one. So to mitigate that, down below, we can have process that env that node env. If not in production, since we are in a development environment, then global this that Prisma is initialized with whatever the value of the DB coming from whoever execute between the two. But for the first time that the Nox run, of course, this was the part that will run. So this become an instance of Prisma client object, and we preserve that by assigning the DB to Prisma instance. So the next time that the application reload, this will not execute, and instead it will execute this one. Now back in here in the other window of the VS Code, let's run npx Prisma init. Okay, warn, you already have that getignore file. Don't forget to add that env in it to not commit private information. So let's see what was added or changed after running the command. So there is Prisma here. What was the inside of Prisma directory? There is schema that Prisma, and we also have db.ts. Running ls.la, we have our environment variable here. So what we can do is we can just echo that env, echo env into that getignore file as suggested above. And there you go, our getignore was modified. It seems different. Close this terminal. Let's open our getignore. md.env. So no, this md should not be removed. No, get stash push dash p, and let's ask that quit. So let's just add here that env and git add dash p. We can see here that Okay, going back here in another window, we just have to take a look at our .env. And you see we have database underscore URL environment variable here. We need to acquire a value of this allocation of our PostgreSQL database. And to be able to do that, I am in the Neon.tech website. I just log into it using Google and just follow the instruction of how you can enter the dashboard. So this is the first time that I enter the dashboard, and there is this modal here, and choose your preferred connection method. Down below there is Prisma here, and it says in schema.prisma add this one, database data source db. So let's copy that, open the Prisma schema Prisma, and we just have to replace this. Back in here, click on the .env tab and copy this one, and let's paste that there. Now back here in our schema, we just have to define our model here. User, which is an object with the ID, that is a string ID at default, just like what was suggested, default with a value CUID, name which is a string, email which is a string. Let's clear this up. Now that we have defined that schema, the next thing that we're going to do is to run this command npx prisma generate. It will generate that object. So here, environment variable loaded, Prisma schema loaded to Prisma generated Prisma client. So now, since we generated this Prisma client successfully, then we can import now import this in our application, just like what we are doing here in line number 1. So when we import, then our DB will have an autocomplete of user. And the next thing is to run this command npx. We need to run prisma db push, and that will push our db to Neon.tech data source. Here you can see here db PostgreSQL database neon.db schema public error, can't reach database server at Huli. Please make sure your database server is running. It says here live. Alright, I did nothing but going back here in the VS Code. I rerun again the same command. I did not do anything on the Neon.tech website. Maybe it is just a network issue. But you can see here, after running Prisma db push, there is a message here, your database is now in sync with your Prisma schema. So now let's check here, and here we go. We can see there is our user model that was created, and we can also the field here, the ID, the name, and the email. And that's it for now. And in the next video, we will structure our model properly, and let's try to actually save the user's data after submitting the registration form into the database in the Neon.tech. So stay tuned and see you in the next video. So bye for now.